What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. I'm in a ranting mood, so we're going to talk a little bit about this draft that we're about to do. Doing a 16 draft because they go a little bit faster and they're a little less boring because they go quicker. I am beginning to become more and more concerned that there will not be football this year, and that really bums me out. But it's not about me. I know that. I just don't understand how the NFL, the amount of money that they make, and the amount of people that are involved in that organization are taking such a lackadaisical and non serious approach to coming up with real solutions for how to make a season happen. We see, even with the leagues right now that are looking to restart, that are taking as many precautions as possible, they're still are running into some issues. Like with the NBA, we're running into issues where the people allowed into the bubbles aren't necessarily um, not under the same requirement. So that is already causing a problem. If people can walk into the bubble that aren't being kept as protected as the players, but overall, I feel like the NBA and the NHL, for that matter, we see it with the MLS as well, are taking very good precautions to actually make this restart for their leagues happen. And I mean, at this point, I mean, we're in the middle of July. We're heading into what should be the preseason in about a month. We don't know at this point, not even a month. Typically, it's the beginning part of August. So, I mean, we're like 2 or 3 weeks away from where the NFL season would typically start. Haven't been any mini camps, haven't been any rookie camps. Like, that's pretty much been the only thing that's happened thus far, is things have just been canceled. JJ Watt posted today that based on tons of calls that he's had with the NFL Players Association, that the general sentiment across the league is that they want to play, but they want to be safe. No one's come up with a single valid infection disease emergency response from any team or the league. They don't know if there's going to be preseason games or not. They don't even know how testing is going to work, whether there's going to be daily testing, semi daily testing. They don't know how potential positive test affects contracts, roster spots. Nothing has been agreed upon regarding what training camp will actually look like and how the quote unquote ramp up period will work. And they just announced the other day that they want to know who's going to be opting out of playing this year by the August 1st. So, from a player's perspective, wouldn't you want to know how that impacts how, like, all these things that will potentially impact you? I'd want to know that before I agreed to go back into that environment. And as it stands right now, I don't trust what the NFL is doing enough to really know, like, if I was in that situation, that I would be like, oh yeah, totally going to come back right now. And it's just, it doesn't make sense that so little emphasis is being placed on actually trying to think through creative solutions for this. Like, they haven't even come to grips with the fact that they're probably not going to have fans in the stadiums. Like, their idea of coming up with a plan for the stadiums is, let's make people sign waivers that they can't sue us if they get sick. First of all, that's despicable, but more importantly, it's dumb. Like, you think that that's actually the best approach? I mean, look at other countries that have already restarted their leagues. Yeah, it's not ideal to not have fans in the stadiums, but the majority of the money that's made in the NFL is done through TV contracts. So you're going to let people that don't actually take this thing seriously all show up and potentially infect themselves. Okay, cool. Like, that's, I guess it's America, that's people's decision. But at the end of the day, like, you're still putting the option out there for people to do that and whatever. But coming back around, now they're also coming to the Players Association saying, hey, we're going to cut 40% of the salary cap for this year, not for 2021, for 2020. Who's going to agree to that? hey guys, we want you to show up and play in what could be the most chaotic and injury prone year ever because you haven't been able to work out with your teams and be conditioned for this. And you could all suffer a potential career ending injury and also contract a virus that may or may not really damage you or a member of your family. And we want you to take a 40% pay cut. Is anyone actually going to agree to that? Like, I don't understand how anyone thought that that was a good time to bring that up. And again, this is before they've even come up with a solid plan of how they're going to do this. So you tell players, "Hey, we need a hard answer in 2 weeks as to whether or not you're actually going to play. Oh, and we want to cut your salary by 40%, and we don't actually have a plan on how to keep you safe yet. Just trust us." I know it's hard. Like, I'm not sitting here acting like I have all the answers for this crap, but this this is just dumb. And yeah, I don't know. And then everything going on with Washington right now. I mean, we've had instances in the past where they've forced an owner out, and I don't want to make this too political, but Dan Snyder is an absolute trash person, and they are showing like no interest in trying to do the same thing to him as they did to Richardson in Carolina a few years ago, which doesn't make any sense to me, but like I don't know. I'm just I don't understand what's going on in the NFL right now. It's like they don't actually want to make this thing happen, and it sucks. Because with everything else going on in the world right now, I know it's selfish, but I I want football back. I want sports back, and sorry if that makes me a bad person, but I don't want to go a whole season without having any football. I feel bad for the guys that aren't incredibly gifted and the guys that are for sure going to get a second chance even if they sit out this year. Like there's a lot of guys that their careers will end because we'll still have another batch of rookies coming in next year, even if there isn't college football in the fall. If they find a way to do it in the spring, there's still going to be a batch of new guys that come in, and a lot of people are going to lose their jobs off of this. So a lot of people are going to be forced into playing, even if they or someone that they know is at risk, and it's just not cool. So anyway, for those of you that endured that rant, I'll stop now. We'll act under the assumption that the season's going to happen going forward in terms of the remainder of this analysis. So like let's assume that they get their act together and when we figure this out going forward. So assuming they actually hold true to what is being said in regards to players having to declare in as of August 1st whether or not they're going to be playing. I don't know if they can actually enforce that. Like if a player could opt out in the middle of the season, what the penalty would be. Because I mean, they can't force anyone to do anything, right? So I don't really know if how much water or how much weight that will actually hold. But at least from a fantasy lens, we should at least have a glimpse of who is serious or not about playing under these conditions, and at least we get enough time to adjust our strategy because I don't know how many high profile people are going to not play. I mean, we haven't heard anyone really say anything yet. The only thing there's been slim, like cryptic tweets, like we saw AJ Brown say something to the extent of he doesn't want to put his family at risk. I don't know if that is his way of saying that he's not going to play this year. I don't know. Nobody knows. And at least we'll have a little more clarity. But until we actually have a solid plan from these guys as to what is actually happening, it's just going to be an absolute nightmare. Um, which, I mean, you can still find micro advantages in the nightmare, right? Like being up to snuff with what is happening and paying close attention to depth charts and who is rising and once beat reporters actually have some information to go off of, like we'll at least have a decent idea of how to contingency plan, and that's probably really what this whole season is going to end up being, is just one massive contingency plan. And I mean, hopefully by August 1st, we'll at least know a little bit more in terms of how this is going to look. Because if we're talking strategy, it is going to be a very interesting year to try to devise appropriate strategy. I mean, it might even just be wise to punt certain positions. I don't know how often we're going to run into issues where people are getting sick the day of and having to completely, pivot around that. I mean, it might just be where, yeah, I mean, we've talked in some other streams about how many like roster spots you need to increase. I do think that you probably should look into having a few additional roster spots in your leagues. That makes sense to me. And then not too much because you don't want the waiver wire to be completely dead, but um, I think it does at least make sense to add IR spots as well, to at least get people through the couple week period. If someone tests positive and they're out for 10 to 14 days, you're not having to take up a roster spot for someone that is sick. I feel disgusted talking about this, because at the end of the day, these are still people, and everything that needs to be done for their best interest. I mean, I know there's a lot of ancillary people that are involved, media writers, analysts for the sport and for fantasy purposes, that I mean, there's a lot of people's livelihoods that revolve around this sport. And if it doesn't happen, it really sucks. But at the end of the day, like this we can't we can't treat them like it's not the Hunger Games. Sorry, I keep I knew a rant was coming. This has been pent up for a while, so you guys are getting to enjoy the raw rant. But I don't know. It's gonna be an absolute insane game to try to parse all this information together, and it could end up being. I mean, if I trusted that the NFL was going to do right by its players, I would be pretty excited, at least at the prospect of having a good beat on what's going on, because having good information and following up on people that have their ear to the ground, like this could be a year that you can completely dominate strategy wise, just based on being able to pay attention to what's going on and having having an angle into the conversation could really help fantasy owners perform really well this year. And that's cool and all, but I don't know. It's going to take each day as it comes, I guess, at this point. So we don't know enough to really know how it's even going to go forward at this point. And like I said, the overarching theme of JJ Watt's tweet was that people do want to play. And whether that is more for the financial incentive, I'm sure that's a massive part of it. I know that there is a competitive spirit as well. So I want that, and I want them to be safe. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Um, I haven't even talked about this draft yet. So I managed to get Lamar Jackson for like the first time in one of these drafts. So woohoo, that's cool. I don't think I need to really pivot and take another quarterback for that reason. I still like Terry McLaurin. I was hoping Jonathan Taylor might fall, but that didn't happen. Not too worried running back wise. Let's see. Let's take two more receivers. Let's go. I don't have much Keenan Allen, so we'll take Keenan Allen as a wide receiver 4. I think that's fine, and then we'll take the upside of Terry McLaurin. At this point, I'm pretty much fading Cortland Sutton everywhere. I know he did really well last year, but I just don't trust that there's going to be enough passing volume in that offense, and with the additional weapons, his slice of the pie is going to get smaller. So plus, I already have Melvin Gordon, and I don't really want to double up on Broncos since they're not a team that I necessarily believe in that much. Thought about taking Dak Prescott there or Russell Wilson, but when you spend this early of a pick on Lamar Jackson, I might as well make sure my wide receiver core is stronger. And I like taking two of the same position when I'm on the turn. It seems to set the tone of the draft a little bit more. Didn't do it the last time, but that's the third time I've done it now. Probably should draft Derrick Henry at some point. I don't think I have any shares of him yet. I actually don't know if I've ever drafted DeAndre Swift either. We'll see if he shows up. Now that we have 5 wide receivers and we're happy with our quarterback and tight end one, we'll probably just take a few more running backs with our next picks. There's still a lot of guys left. Love Kareem Hunt, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, even Mark Ingram there. Not too high on Devin Singletary. I think he's going to lose a lot of work to Zach Moss, and obviously Josh Allen takes a lot of the red zone work. Um, I mean, he could end up being all right, but I think his upside is a bit capped. Whereas Kareem Hunt, if Nick Chubb were to go down, or if he ends up getting traded, which is a possibility, he would end up being a top 5 running back. I don't see that in the range of outcomes for Devin Singletary. Probably just take both the rookies if they're there, though. Yeah, let's just take both the rookies. And so we got Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, Melvin Gordon, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift at running back, George Kittle and Lamar Jackson, and then we have Allen Robinson, Odell Beckham, Robert Woods, Keenan Allen, and Terry McLaurin at wide receiver. So there's a way to turn off the auto scroll down. Every time I scroll up and there's a draft, if you notice that like it scrolls back down, it's because someone else makes a pick. This guy's team is pretty good. I like that trio of receivers. Um, I guess everyone's team is good when you do a 6-team draft. This is kind of just like war of attrition, hoping you get some of the best value picks later on that will end up blowing up your draft. But it's nice when you can have quarterback and tight ends in these 6-team drafts. I feel like their value increases exponentially because you really want to make sure I mean, you can get a good core of running backs even if you wait a bit. You can get a good core of wide receivers even if you wait a bit. But there's really only 2 guys in the top tier at tight end or quarterback, and they both have the potential to finish massively ahead of the rest of the competition. So I like being able to lock down those positions early and being able to do both. That just made sense to me. I was hoping Alvin Kamara would fall, but now that Dalvin Cook is potentially sitting out, that always ends up ruining those plans. Actually, I have nearly enough Matt Ryan in any of these drafts. I shouldn't have said his name out loud because now I'll get drafted. But if he's there, I think I'll just do the two quarterback approach. And see, as soon as you say someone's name, they always get drafted. So lesson learned. Um, Drew Brees, actually interesting to me as well. Watch him get taken too. Hmm. Don't really have any Tyler Boyd. I'm just not that excited by him. I think AJ Green being there is gonna end up limiting his upside as well. I already have Oda Beckham. Don't really want to take Jarvis Landry. Freaking Devin Singletary fell again. Whatever. Make sure that we get good Devin. At least have one share of Devin Singletary. I take Julian Edelman. So we've got six running backs and six wide receivers at this point. We'll take a couple of backup quarterbacks or tight ends. I'm not really sure that we need more than two at each position. Maybe a third tight end just because George Kittle does have a little bit of an injury history. If Lamar Jackson goes down, then I probably lost this draft anyway, so who really cares? Actually surprised J.K. Dobbins hasn't gone. I don't really need another running back, but wow, and this guy's going all in on Tampa Bay. I like it. See, Dobbins and Geis still interesting to me at running back. That's like the last group of guys I'd even consider taking in like a six-team league. I don't have enough Marvin Jones. He gives us a lot of boom bust upside as well in these types of drafts, and I should probably take a backup tight end. I love Mike Gesicki, but he has the same bye week as George Kittle, so it's almost always a pass for me whenever I have Kittle. Let's take Jonnu Smith. I don't have enough of him, and he has, I mean, as much upside as anyone else going around him. There's a huge tier of guys in the second half of the draft this year that you can draft it at tight ends that all give you really, really good upside. It's actually like, I feel like every year we talk about how deep the tight ends are, and then it ends up just being complete garbage. But I guess I'm falling into the trap in thinking that it's any different this year. But I feel like it is different this year. Is a huge swath of guys that you can typically get in the double digit rounds that have really high upside. Dallas Goedert is, has the potential to take over for Zach Ertz at any point. Zach Ertz is not getting any younger. Johnny Smith, one of the most athletic tight ends in the league right now, and giant tank. I really love the Titans' strategy just from a like pure football perspective. It goes counter to everything that everyone else is trying to do, which I mean, I feel like Mike Vrabel is taking the old Bill Belichick strategy of just make other people want to be like you rather than you trying to mimic everyone else. So he just has this trio of massive guys with Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, and Jonnu Smith that it just punishes defenses the more he keeps feeding them the ball. And by the second half, they're just worn down. It's like the old Marshawn Lynch effect of just punching someone in the face over and over and over and over and over again until they're done. So I really like that mentality that the Titans are bringing. We'll see if it works 2 years in a row, but it definitely could. Check our bye weeks, make sure we covered ourselves. Got 2 week 9 buys. Everything else is spreading out. So I'm probably okay punting running back for the rest of the draft. 2 week 9, nope, just 2 week 9 buys. So yeah, we're pretty good. Is it reasonable to ask if Jared Goff would ever start over would ever start over Lamar Jackson? I already have so much Darius Geis and Darius Slayton. I'm like, do I take him again? I could take Emmanuel Sanders. Nah. Like Darius Slayton's upside. I do think the Giants are going to take a pretty big step forward on offense this year. I miss the days where Rager would go in like the that pick 150. His ADP has jumped up so much now, even though Deshaun Jackson is still going to be on the team. And I've liked Rager more than Deshaun Jackson all along, but now that their ADP is shifted, I'm just going to keep targeting the value guy later on. It's a really good tier of receivers for this guy too. Hopkins, Galladay, Thielen, Chark, Metcalf. These 16 leagues are ridiculous. The teams that you have. Cleveland quarterback. I don't know what's new with you guys. Hit me up in the comment section and let me know what's stressing you out these days, because I'm stressed about everything that's happening in the NFL right now. I want to cover it, and I'm worried that there's going to be nothing to cover. So, meh. So apparently Matt Burita had actually they've been working on a contract extension for him in Miami, which it'd be interesting if they actually get one done. That might signal that they're actually planning on using him more than Jordan Howard, which would actually be kind of surprising, but at the same point not. And that would definitely change our opinion of him heading into 2020. Someone in that backfield is going to end up having value. Took Mike Gesicki anyway, even though he has the same bye week as George Kittle. Just gotta hope Johnny Smith stays healthy for Week 11, and if not, well, is what it is. Well, started a tight end run at the end there. Just waiting for Mr. Irrelevant now. And then we'll recap our team. Come on. I'm gonna wait the whole 120 seconds to make the last pick, aren't you? Oh, Manuel Sanders. Like that in best ball a lot. So Peterson up. We've got 3 quarterbacks, different bye weeks. Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, Cam Newton. Uh, I mean, we're really only hoping that these guys maybe step in once or twice. Lamar Jackson should be able to step in the vast majority of the time. Running back, we got Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, Melvin Gordon, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, and Devin Singletary. Allen Robinson, Odell Beckham Jr., Robert Woods, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Julian Edelman, Marvin Jones, and Darius Slayton at wide receiver, and then George Kittle, Jonnu Smith, and Mike Gesicki at tight end. Yet another draft in the books. Now we just pray that we actually get to see how it plays out. That's pretty much all I have. I'm going to keep breaking down for those of you that have been watching our videos. We're going to keep breaking down the rest of the teams in the NFL, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully actually get a season. I'd really like to see how everything plays out this year, especially like some of the stories, like the Patriots. I want to see how Cam Newton can do in New England, so it's going to be very interesting. Um, to your point, Michael, I don't care about bye weeks in redraft leagues. The only reason why I care about them in these kind of leagues is because they are draft masters, so you can't. There's no trading and there's no waivers. So if you don't have your bye weeks covered in the draft, you will basically take a 0 at the position on the bye weeks. So you do have to consider them a little bit in these leagues. That's probably the only time I actually ever consider it, though, if that makes sense. Outside of best ball, thinking about bye weeks at the draft is a losing strategy. So, but yeah, that's that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for coming and enjoying my rant. If you missed it, just start it over. For the first 15 minutes or me ranting. So hope you have fun, and we'll see you guys in another draft later.